Ah man, school choice, one of the most controversial topics you can take up. Now, as for why it's controversial, honestly, I don't get it. I don't get why the left gets so up in arms over the fact that people want the right to send their kids to whatever school they want, and they want schools to have to perform. That's simple. Now, obviously, it's due to unions and all this other bullcrap, but that's where we're at. So, interestingly enough, there are quite a few states that are doing school choice, or at least some form thereof, right? Assistance for education in some places, right, rather than school choice, and it's not going very well. It's going pretty poorly. In that, a lot of schools are not getting the money they're supposed to get. A lot of vendors not getting paid the way they're supposed to be paid. And all this is because they're using outside vendors. Because once again, the government has proven that it is inefficient at best. Now, you'll say, how is that inefficiency in the government when they're using outside vendors? Because they're using outside vendors, when they could instead create something very simple. I mean, all you have to do is have requisition forms and you're done, right? Literally, like, you don't even have to bring in these middlemen. Because I've got nothing against the government using contractors for things, that's fine. But you don't need a middleman for payments, because that's literally all this is. It's just payment processing, essentially, for the government. And that's stupid. Because you could literally just, you could literally just have students, or parents of students, right, fill out a form at the school, have the school send it to the state. The state pays the school. There you go. We're done. Right? Simple enough. And if you're concerned about security, do it on the blockchain. You can. It's not hard. It's all like listed there. Give every parent or every household or whatever a blockchain wallet of some sort. Record the transaction on the blockchain. There you done. There you go. We're done. It's not hard. Like in either case, we can make these things secure, and we can make them much more efficient. We can make them cheaper by not having a middleman. This is not hard. But these states, just like we see the federal government do, absolutely refuse to do work and would rather pay someone else to do it, which is where we're at. So from ProPublica, in the wild west of school voucher expansion, states rely on untested companies with mixed results. Why you not do the thing? Why you not do? Okay. Last April, West Virginia awarded nearly $10 million contract to a company called Student First Technologies to manage the state's Hope Scholarship Program, which gives families about $4,900 per child to spend on private school tuition and homeschooling expenses. The company's founder, Mark Duran, reacted with delight. "We are very excited to serve your great state," he wrote. But problems soon emerged, as reflected in emails obtained by ProPublica public information request. Some private schools were so late in receiving their voucher payments from families that they were having trouble meeting payroll. In late August, a state official wrote to Duran that with a list of invoices that needed to be paid promptly, including 3 from a school, Beth Haven Christian in Chauncey, that had called and indicated they are experiencing significant cash flow issues. The email continued, "We need to make sure they have their funds early in the day if at all possible." The school eventually got its funds, but the episode highlights the challenge that states are facing with the rapidly expanding school choice programs, making sure the taxpayer money they are allowing families to spend on behalf of their kids is being processed efficiently and properly. To do so, they're relying on a small group of fledgling companies that have seized the opportunity to serve as middlemen for this fast-growing market. The work can be lucrative, but it also has proven so daunting that in several states, the companies that carry it out have ended up losing contracts to the rivals, some less than a year after winning them, as questions arise and audits and lawsuits pile up. An idea sold on the basis of its simplicity, give parents money to spend on their kids' education as they see fit, had turned out to be anything but simple in practice, and this complexity comes at a cost, paying companies to run the programs. There are now a dozen states in the country that offer universal private school vouchers, making them available to families of any income level. The largest of those programs in Florida is now costing taxpayers nearly $3 billion a year, with the programs in Arizona and Ohio each drawing around $1 billion a year from taxpayer funds. In some of the states, the money comes to parents in the form of education savings accounts, which can be used on education-related expenses other than tuition. These programs are especially complex to implement, since some form of oversight is needed to make sure families are spending the money in ways that comply with the rules. See, that's interesting, because we have 529 plans, and we have the Coverdell ESA, which is an education savings account as well. Both of those work out just fine. Do you know why? Here's why. Let's kind of dive into the weeds a little bit here. The way that all those work is that you take the money, you invest your money, right? However, you pull the money out and you use it on allowed expenses for education, right? And that's all well and good. And the government just assumes you're using it for the correct purpose, and then Whenever the IRS looks into it, if they think that you're not, they will audit you, call it a day. If you can prove that you were, great, we're all happy. If you can't, well, you get taxed. It's simple, right? It is not that difficult to implement this stuff. It really is not. And the state could do the same damn thing. You could have state level ESAs, either Coverdell or whatever, 529s, which are state level in the first place, right? And then just have the state audit people. If you think they're not spending it correctly, if, someone complains about something or whatever, right? Audit them. It's not hard. We don't need to have these extra companies being middlemen. Now, obviously, there are companies that run 529s that are essentially middlemen, but they don't disperse funds based on whatever. They don't get paid based on whatever, right? They're literally just there to hold the money and invest it, and then allow the parents to pull it out when they want, and then the parents decide what it's spent on, and that's fine, because as long as they're spending on the correct expenses, then everyone's happy. It's being used correctly, great. And if they're not, they get audited, they pay taxes. It's great, right? So the fact that they're making it so difficult is ridiculous. Where are we at? Angling for the task of management for the spending. Wow. Angling for the task of managing the spending are 4 companies. The largest is ClassWallet, which is based in Hollywood, Florida. Its founder, Jamie Rosenberg, initially offered its online procurement technology to teachers and administrators to reduce the amount of paperwork involved in school expenditures. But the company shifted to capitalize on the school choice market. With backers including Lazard Family Office Partners, a global investment firm, ClassWallet has more than 2,000 employees and contracts in more than 10 states, among them Florida and Arizona, the latter of which has faced headlines about some parents using state education aid for questionable purchases, as the cost of its program has swelled far beyond projections. The smallest is Student First, based in Bloomington, Indiana, the great state of Indiana, with 14 full-time employees. Both its founder, Duran, and its chief technology officer were educated in alternative settings, including homeschooling and so-called learning pods, kids from multiple families clustered together, and say they view the company as part of the larger cause of promoting school choice. Duran, 30, previously worked for his family's home building company in northern Michigan, served as lifestyle assistant and boat captain for an executive couple and their family, and helped deliver a yacht on a 4,000-mile journey from northern Michigan to Key Largo, Florida via Nova Scotia, Canada, and Nantucket, Massachusetts. The other 2 companies fall in between in the scale. Odyssey, based in Lower Manhattan, was founded by Joseph Connor, 37, a former teacher and lawyer who had previously created a company called Schoolhouse, which connected teachers with the learning pods that sprouted up during the pandemic. Odyssey, with about 40 employees, has received investor funding from Andreessen Horowitz and Tusk Venture Partners, among others. It works with Iowa and Wyoming, and recently won contracts for the newly expanding voucher programs in Georgia and Louisiana. The 4th, Merit International, is based in Silicon Valley, and it likewise has considerable venture capital backing, including from Andreessen Horowitz. Its contracts include programs in Ohio and Kansas. The 100-person company also manages payments for government programs outside of education. One of its co-founders, Jacob Oren, said in an interview that he too was drawn to the school choice business by his background. He struggled in school when he was young, and he says he would have greatly benefited from having more educational options. We're mission-driven, but we make a profit, he said. Competition among the companies often gets fierce as they face off in state after state. They dispatch lobbyists to catch aspersions on their rivals with legislators and state officials. They try to influence the legislation, creating the voucher programs to tailor them to their company's offerings. They feed whisper campaigns among parents about problems arising in states where the rivals are in charge. In Iowa, after Odyssey won that state's contract in 2023, Student First and an Iowa organization it was partnering with brought a legal challenge, alleging substantial material misrepresentations by Odyssey. An administrative judge dismissed the suit. In Arkansas, the state had selected ClassWallet in 2023 to manage its education freedom accounts, which gives families about $7,000 per student. But last spring, the state considered switching to Student First to save money. A lobbyist for ClassWallet paid visits to state legislators, warning them that this was a bad idea. They sent someone to talk with me, recalled State Senator Bart Hester, a Republican from Cave Spring. The lobbyist for ClassWallet explained that the company was 3 times the number of employees as Student First. There's no other way they can do it, the lobbyist said, according to Hester. Student First won the contract, worth about $15 million over 7 years, but by October, state officials had decided to switch back to ClassWallet, saying that Student First had missed deadlines to set up programs, was late processing payments, and owed the state $563,000 in fees as a result of the delays. Student First Technologies is proud of our work to empower Arkansas families, Duran wrote in response to questions from ProPublica. Of Student First's experience in West Virginia, he said the company has been making month-on-month improvements, and this will never stop. ClassWallet previously became embroiled in difficulties one state over in Oklahoma. A 2022 investigation by the Frontier and Oklahoma Watch found widespread and questionable spending under a program in which Governor Kevin Stitt, a Republican, provided $18 million in federal pandemic relief funds for families to use for private school vouchers or educational materials to be overseen by ClassWallet. Some used the state aid to buy Christmas trees, gaming consoles, electric fireplaces, outdoor grills, dishwashers, pressure washers, car stereo equipment, coffee makers, exercise gear, smartwatches, and at least 548 TVs. The 2022 article quoted Rosenberg, the ClassWallet CEO, praising the program at a 2022 panel discussion. They were literally able to deploy $18 million without having to engage any human capital from the government agency, and for it to be almost hands-free and incredibly streamlined. But a subsequent federal audit reported that ClassWallet had blamed Oklahoma for the abuses, saying that the company had offered to limit purchases to items approved by the state, but that a teacher who had helped arrange the contract, Ryan Walters, now Oklahoma's education secretary, had declined this option. Walters did not respond to a question for comment. The problems with the program sparked an odd three-way legal fight, with Stitt attempting to sue ClassWallet and Oklahoma's own attorney general opposing the governor and blaming problems on poor state oversight. The state administration is still pursuing the case, now using outside lawyers. ClassWallet has said the claims are wholly without merit. The company declined to respond to specific questions, but spokesperson Jason Hart provided a statement saying ClassWallet is the country's most trusted citizen digital wallet technology platform. In Idaho, ClassWallet had the contract to administer an early pandemic initiative that evolved into what is now called Empowering Parents, a $30 million state program that gives families up to $3,000 each for supplemental educational expenses. The current system could be a possible prelude to a full voucher program, which is up for debate now in legislature. Odyssey won the contract in 2022 for $1.5 million per year. A year later, the state ordered an audit after receiving reports of spending on clothes, TVs, smartwatches, and other non-educational items. The audit found that only a tiny sliver of purchases were inappropriate, but it ordered Odyssey to pay back the state for $478,656.22 in interest it had collected from unspent federal funding for the program. Meanwhile, parents and business owners were reporting other issues with the program under Odyssey's oversight, as reflected in emails obtained under a Freedom of Information Act request filed by ProPublica. Last February, Tina Stevens, the owner of a music store and academy in Coeur d'Alene, said that is one of the program's biggest vendors, wrote to her state senator saying that she had lost $10,000 because families were unable to access their funds to pay for music classes. She also wrote that Odyssey's requirement to ship all purchases to families was wasting money. Either way, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot more of this, but it's all just basically saying that these companies suck. So what I want to talk about here, the big part I want to talk about, is that this could all be done efficiently. They could literally just create, and obviously, libertarians are going to hate me for this, but they could just create another government department to oversee this, to do the what's the word for it? To do the administration of it. Hell, they could even ask the 529 companies to do it. I know Michigan has their own, but a lot of people will use, what do they use? Either way, they use a specific company that I cannot remember the name of to save my life. But yeah, it's wild how it's so difficult for these companies to do this when it's so easy for 529s and covered LESAs to function. And I'm not saying that school choice is a bad idea. I think it's a great idea. I think we should dismantle the Department of Education. I think public schools should go to the wayside and everything should be funded through vouchers. Because I think it's fine to fund school through public taxes, right? That's great because kids are the future. We need intelligent people in this country, right? But also, we should make sure that governments are, or I should say schools, are teaching our kids what we want them to be taught and doing a good job at it, which means that they should be held to account, which means that school vouchers are a good idea. And, it's just these states don't want to do the work, don't want to create another department or anything like that. And so instead they contract out to these shitty companies that cannot do shit, right? When there are plenty of companies who could do it, but they don't ask them to. Instead, they just go to these fucking fly-by-night companies and have them do this. It's ridiculous. And I think, honestly, this will be used by the left to say that school choice vouchers are a terrible idea, even though actual schools, like public schools that get this funding, also use it for, shall we say, inappropriate purchases, say new TVs and things along those lines in the hallways. Hell, my girlfriend went to an inner city school in Chicago, and they had the same problem. They were always underfunded because the schools were stealing the funds or using it on stupid shit, rather than making sure education was a priority. But it wasn't a problem then, it's just a problem now. So it's a whole thing, man. But regardless, I think school choice is a good thing, and we need to get these middlemen out of there because it's just wasting everyone's taxpayer money, and they're doing a piss poor job of doing it at the same time. Anyway, guys, The next segment's coming up later today. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and we'll see you then.